Well, hello and welcome to Living Well with Dr. Sheila. I am so glad that you are here today. Just a reminder, we talk about any topic that has to do with living your best life. So that's spiritual, mental, and physical. Any of those, and they all have to work in conjunction for you to be the best person that you can absolutely be. So I do have a guest today. I'm going to go ahead and look over because I look over and read these bios. So I'm going to look over and read her bio and then we're going to bring her on. But I'm so excited that she's here today. So this is Janet Farnsworth, and Janet is a body empowerment coach and shame buster. Love that. And she helps women to become best friends with their bodies. She is the founder of the movement therapy practice Let Love Move You. Tongue twister. Janet is also a two-time best-selling author of Love Your Body, The Guide to Stop Making Your Body a Battleground, and Your Body is Your Superpower. After 30 years of supporting hundreds of women heal body trauma, including sexual assault, addiction, disability prejudice, and eating disorders, Janet found her sole purpose helping women not just connect to their bodies, but also celebrate their bodies as their most powerful asset. That is a beautiful, beautiful bio. So I'm going to bring Janet on and we are going to talk to her just about some of the topics that she had here and also to kind of dig a little bit more into this bio because there are a few interesting things actually that are in her bio. So let's bring Janet on. And she's coming. And here she is. Hi, Janet.
Hello, Dr. Sheila. What fun to be here.
Oh,
You make
thank
me
you
sound
so
so
much.
interesting.
Oh, you are interesting. We never think what we do
Uh,
is as impressive as other people.
yes, so
Yeah,
true.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
working on it. I'm working on it.
It's
Be
always a work
impressed.
in progress. Yeah, yeah. Because I'm working on that same thing. Because if you really know your subject, you're like, oh yeah, I know this. It's okay.
Yeah.
But for those people who don't, it's like,
Mm.
oh my goodness.
Let's talk about the body. Yeah, I
Yeah,
can do
let's talk about
that.
that. Right. So I do have a question to ask you though from your
Yeah.
bio.
Mhm.
Just for I always ask questions just for my information
Go
and of
ahead.
course the audience. But you support women, and what is disability prejudice? Can you talk about that? What is that?
Yeah, that is the experience of a woman who is differently abled and who is surrounded by a world that doesn't really acknowledge or honor the experience of her body. And whether or not that is somebody with a neurological disorder, I mean, it could be fibromyalgia, something that's not seen, or something like being in a wheelchair, or not having arms and legs, which is a woman that I had the great gift to spend a little bit of time with. So yeah, it's the experience which we all have in different measure of not being allowed to be comfortable in the bodies that we are born with and live in.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah,
Wow.
and
That sounds rewarding.
it's hugely rewarding. And in so many ways, I think those of us who have the gift of doing work that resonates with us, that has meaning for us personally, it's also work that I get to do that has personal significance for me. So anytime that I get to work with a woman, anytime, which is often every day, it's beneficial to me because I'm still working on being comfortable with my own body. I'm still talking myself off the ledge of, not wincing when I see my cellulite or whatever it is. And I think as long as we live in the modern world and see, as I just saw recently, Kendall Jenner, who's gorgeous and looks really wonderful, and it's no aspiration or nothing against her. But
Right.
it's like, yeah, we are still just, you cannot open up your phone or turn on the computer without seeing an image that tells you you're different. I mean, unless you're one of those 1% who look like, Kendall Jenner. Like I
Yeah.
said, shout out to her, but
Mm,
surrounded by the constant challenge to actually accept who we are.
right. And that, yeah, and that is a small percent of people who actually look like her.
Yeah.
And yeah, and it's unfortunate that people still aspire to try to look like someone or something that really is not even probably in their DNA. Because it's probably in her DNA, the fact that she can,
Yeah.
she's.
Yes. Which, by the way, is part of what disability prejudice is about. We're all born with the bodies we have, and sometimes our bodies change dramatically, whether or not it's certainly from aging or the experience of just being alive. And sometimes it's from an accident, sometimes it's from an illness, and we can't control that. In fact, there's a woman I worked with who helped form for me one of my classes, which is bold bathing suit breakthrough. Which is right. I know. Like raise your hand if you have ever been in the mirror or been in the dressing room trying on a bathing suit and be like, oh God. Or don't go into the dressing room like, this seems good enough, and like, thank heavens for online shopping, right? But here was this extraordinary woman. She was in her 50s, and she literally was a nuclear physicist who, I am not exaggerating, had worked on world peace and the nuclear disarmament movement. Just an incredible, bright, brilliant woman who had had a mastectomy and had survived cancer. And I mean, just, smart, in service, and had overcome a profound illness and had spent her whole life in the love of the water. And like that, I mean, she described being a young girl and traveling all over the world because that was her, I think her father was in diplomacy, I can't remember. And she loved being in the water. But after the mastectomy, she couldn't even put a bathing suit on because her body had changed so dramatically. And she was so uncomfortable being with her body in that state. And so, right, I mean, it's the DNA, it's skin color, it's hair color, it's size, it's bone mass, it's features that, are our own and that we can't change. And so what do we do then? What do we do in the world? I mean, there's research that shows people respond differently to how people look. This is a real experience. It's not pretend. Like, I know I used to be anorexic, a white blonde woman, who was pretty, who fit a model. And I can be on the other side and say, hey, I've been that person, and I've never been as unhappy with myself and my body as I was when I actually did look like that very narrow model of what we're supposed to look like. So, this experience of actually being with the bodies we have, that's a whole nother story, I think, for pretty much everyone, I think. I mean, I think what I do is, like what you do with pelvic floor health. I mean, if you have a pelvic floor, which if you have a body, hey, I mean, it relieves us, I mean, like we all can learn something about what it is to be with the bodies that we have. Because, if we're not with them and loving them and caring for them, we're not in our houses. It's like we can't be on the planet if we're not in our bodies. I mean, unless who is it, Harry Potter, right? Harry Potter that flows, he throws the powder into the fireplace and can like be someplace different. Until we can do that, our bodies are how we get around in life. And there are a lot of ways that we learn to disconnect from them and to not like them and ashamed of them.
So how? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just turn me on. Sorry.
How did you actually start doing this though? What was the impetus that made you want to start doing this particular work?
Thank you. Well, it's a story. And I used to be a clinician and a social worker. And I worked specifically with children and families for a while, after having actually worked with women and sexual violence. And I was working with a family, and I'd worked with a lot of foster families. And there was this lovely young boy who was just pretty much a mess. And his foster family was beside himself, not knowing what to do. And we'll call him Danny. And Danny was having a hard time sleeping at night, and in the morning, he would be just out of control. And this lovely foster mother didn't know what to do anymore. And there was violence, there was abuse, there was pretty much all of the things that you don't want to have happen to anybody, particularly a child. And so he, came into my office, and after, doing all the clinical interventions and the, behavioral therapies that one is supposed to do as a clinician, it occurred to me when I thought, you know what, Danny, like, how did you sleep last night? And, he hadn't slept well. And we started to talk a little bit about, in this case, because he was very afraid. And we did some work actually about the light at night and his own experience of when he had actually been in his biological family and some of the violence that had happened at night. So it was the conversation was a gateway into understanding better his internal sense of the evening. But it gave us a platform from which to help soothe, and so for him to be able to get to sleep at night. And Dr. Sheila, when he slept well at night, he woke up in the morning and he felt better. And when he felt better, he wasn't arguing and fighting with his stepmother or his foster mother. And when he wasn't arguing with his foster mother, she had more capacity to make sure he got off to school okay. When he got off to school okay, school was a little bit better. So something as like small and mundane as sleep and getting a good night's sleep had an impact on this boy's life. And that was when kind of a light bulb went off in my head. And having worked with violence, poverty, I used to work in jail. It became vividly clear to me that when our bodies are not okay, really nothing else is, right? We know this. We know that when we're sick, it defines our days. When I can't sit up because I'm feeling nauseous, nothing else matters. So the urgency and the primary need of the body became very clear as the driving force in our wellness. And as a psychologist, as a social worker and clinician, and that started me on a path of caring about the body. And I thought at the time, well, maybe I'll be a nutritionist. At that time I was a master's in social work and working as a social worker. And then I became a parent and learned a whole new set of skills. And I was like, I should call all of my clients and be like, I'll give you your money back. I was making that all up, But I started to care about how we feel in our bodies, then became a parent, kind of put aside thinking I was going to work with children and families. And when I went back, because I had the gift of taking some time off, when I went back, I started to really do some personal work about what is the body, what is its purpose. And it's a long story. I'm almost at the end. When my second went back to school, I went back actually to get a second master's, and then also joined community theater. When I joined community theater, I started to dance. I was having fun. I was in cabaret. I think I was like one of the nameless chorus girls, And but in this inquiry over here about, I know I gotta go back and do something about the body. What is it going to be? I was having an experience of my own body, and I was starting to dance and have fun again, which I had done in my life. And in the dance, I kind of woke up in my own body and went, whoa, I'm in my body. This is a really great place to be. Because at that age of 40, I am a childhood abuse survivor. And I pretty much lived my whole life outside of my body. Like I was really disconnected with it, even though I understood to take care of it. And, I exercised and tried to eat right and all of that. I wasn't actually connected to how I felt. And dancing put me in touch with how I felt. And I started a whole new conversation with actually what it was to be in touch with my body. So the combination of, I need to do work, I need to do meaningful work that actually considers that our whole wellness has to be connected to the body. And my own experience of how I actually had been disconnected from my own body, I started to do somatic therapy. And when I did somatic therapy, which was essentially the practice of saying, the suffering is in the body, but so is the healing. Let's be interested in how your body is doing. That then created a whole new conversation with my clients. And what became vividly clear is that we women have a very particular struggle with what it is to actually be connected with our bodies. That if we are going to understand that our wellness has to do with being in touch with this, there's a process with actually letting that happen. And so I started to specialize in body confidence. And that's like kind of the label. But what it is it's so much deeper than that. It's like, as you know, and perhaps as your listeners, like if you are here because you know what it is to have urinary incontinence, or to not be able to have pleasurable intercourse, which is actually where I'm specializing right now. Not as a physical matter, but because you're disconnected to your body, kind of other things can happen, important things. So that's how I became a body confidence coach.
And see, you said that was a long answer, but that was a really good answer.
Oh, good. I'm so glad.
It was because you gave us background, which is wonderful, and then told us, how it actually evolved. So, and are you working primarily just with women?
I do now. I went through a bit of a kind of social political struggle with myself about not wanting to exclude, particularly now, as I think we're in a world that is accepting this concept of non-binary and transgender. And, for years, I held something called the Red Tent, which is specifically an organization for women that gathers because of the bleeding experience, this understanding of our lunar cycles. And then the first time I had someone come in, because I said, if you identify as a woman, you're welcome. And I had someone who was biologically male, but identified as female. I really had to challenge my own experience of even what a woman is. And I still heartily embrace that as the lover of friends who are non-binary or who are transgender. It does feel very important to me to acknowledge that even saying what a woman is shifting in these times. And there is something that is still unique to what it is to have a woman's body and to live in the world that we do. And I think that the younger generation, maybe less and less, is I don't want to say the victim of that, but is affected by that. But it's still a real thing on the planet. As long as there are women in religions that have to be treated differently because of their gender, as long as there are different laws in different places in the country, or not the country, but the world, and as long as there's still a social expectation that men are the ones who are supposed to propose to the women, and that women are supposed to have, a certain breast size or whatever. Yes, I specialize working with them.
Yeah. Wow, wonderful. So, so what does body empowerment have to do with women's health?
Yes, thank you. Right, and I love that you're asking this because you specialize in peeing and not peeing, right? And so, like, what does body empowerment have to do with health? It's like, my friend, Dr. Sheila, has everything to do with women's health. Because if I cannot feel my body, if I cannot care about my body, if I cannot say my body counts and I want it to feel good, nothing else happens, right? It's like that thing. It's like, if I have a fever, I can't really do anything. But can you imagine what would happen if I cared enough about how I really feel right now and maximizing how this body is doing? The quality of how my life would change. So if I can feel empowered and actually saying that my body is my teacher, it's my guide, it's my resource, and I'm going to keep that in the best condition. And I'm not talking about making it look good. I'm talking about making it feel good. It has everything to do with it. Like, whoa, babies, whole pee thing, the whole pelvic floor thing. And if I have shame about that, if I'm embarrassed to talk about it, I'm not even going to be able to find you. I mean, thank goodness we live in a time now where I can type on my, my computer and look for a pelvic coach, But boy, if I can't if I'm out of touch with my body, I'm not going to be taking care of my body's health, you know?
Yeah. And
And
and it might even go further than that, because what you find, and this is part of even what you mentioned in your journey, is
yeah.
that there is a big mental component that goes with this. And the
Mm.
mental component is really difficult for some people to overcome, because it takes, in some cases, a lot of work and a lot
I'm,
of looking at things that from yourself that you might not ever have wanted to see.
oh my, I'm so happy you said that, because I mean, yes. And what it makes me want to share is, when I first learned what a Kegel was, or Kegel, how do you pronounce it? Kegel?
Kegel. Yeah, Kegel.
Kegel.
But people say it different ways. We all know what it means, though.
Right? When
Mhm.
I first learned about them, here was my experience. I hated it. I actually really felt anxious and angry when I was doing them. And I couldn't figure out. I was like, okay, all right. Now, this was before I woke up in my body. This was, when I was just going through life of being a good, healthy, modern Western woman. Like, I'm going to do my Kegels. But they would make me anxious. I didn't like them. And so I would stop. I didn't do them. I could do maybe 5 or 10 and I'd be distracted, right? They were uncomfortable. And over time, as I have been in touch with my body, as I learned how to be okay with just feeling my body, which is a practice, a profound practice, I began to have the capacity, and this is really what I teach, by the way. I don't teach just for you to be able to look in the mirror and be okay. I teach you how to be okay with what you feel. And so when I'm aware that I'm feeling angry, I'm so anxious doing this pelvic floor thing, what became clear to me is that in that part of my body, in my entire pelvic floor, I am reminded of when I was a child and assaulted.
Mhm.
And this was not a conscious thought from my whole life. This was not something that, well, I'm 40 years old. That's when I was 3, right? Mm-mm. No, no, no. The body is the experience. That's part of the getting out of what it looks like. There is a wellspring of information in your body. And when I now can tolerate it actually moves me to tears to share. Like, when I can tolerate, I am so anxious right now that I am touching this muscle and that you are asking me to engage, like lifting something that I have an experience of pain in, and I can tolerate just the knowing of that. Now I have an entirely different relationship with that Kegel exercise. Not only am I able to access an actual muscle that's going to help me from peeing, because I don't want to pee when I sneeze. I don't, right?
Mhm.
Also engaging a muscle that's a resource to heal my soul story. Like, I'm in touch with the muscle, and I'm remembering that I'm afraid. I'm remembering that I don't like being in touch with my, yoni is a word that I use for vagina.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
I don't want to be in touch with it. Now there is like this vast experience of, okay, what really wants to be healing here? Or what else wants to be healing? Not just the weakness of the muscle that I lost when I was pregnant,
Right.
whatever, right? And
Mhm.
so, yes. So thank you, because yes, sisters, it's like, you know, it's like that Kegel that, is hard. It's a hard muscle to, like, I
Mhm.
can't really, I mean, like, it's like, okay, I'm trying to access it, right? Like, it's like, it's both, like a jungle or a maze, but it's also, um, it's, I mean, to me, I call it heaven, right? Because
Mhm.
freedom is here, liberation is here, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you for saying that.
Well, yeah, because that struck me when you were talking, And even if I put myself into some of my clients, probably many of your clients, there's always that backstory. And the backstory is what you have to kind of come to grips with a lot of
Yeah,
times
yeah.
in order to keep moving forward. And especially if you're the backstory or even your past, I can say even your past
Mhm,
has an
mhm.
emotional component that was negative.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, completely. I mean, you know, I could, and I would even add to that, in terms of the backstory, like needing to heal it to be able to take care of the front story, of your physical health. That, like, if I can be your client because I'm having a hard time peeing, and I do this work of what I'm doing over here of saying, hey, what is your experience of this? Like, because that's body empowerment, that's body confidence. There's having the space to say, we're going to learn how to feel and tolerate, which is a big deal, the experience of your body.
Hmm.
We're actually going to learn how to do that. When you learn how to tolerate the experience of yourself, because it is yourself. Remember, you don't get to exist without your body. That's what makes you you in this lifetime. So when you can, like, feel safe, regulate your nervous system to be able to tolerate, okay, I'm here. I'm here. And by the way, and I suddenly felt myself shaking as I accessed that, because it's, it was 5 in the morning here, which is why I might not look awake. But like, if I'm okay, so and I do this, I'm a little trembly right now. I'm like, okay, I'm trembly. Oh, so I can feel like I'm still a little bit weak. I'm not really quite awake in my body. Like this is real time, I'm sure, right? So, okay. When I can do that, now I know what I actually need. Now I know, I'm going to have a sip of my tea. I'm a little dehydrated, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. I'm a little, and I can also access, it's not just that it's 5 a.m., it's that I'm a little nervous and excited about being with Dr. Sheila. I'm on a TV show. Oh, I'm a little nervous, like, and I notice that I'm a little, do I look okay? Like that goes through my mind. It's like, now I'm present with what I'm actually experiencing. Oh, oh, okay. Oh, and I'm a little nervous that I'm going to say something stupid, or I want her to like me. I want her listeners to like me. And then when I'm aware of that, now I'm aware of, like, because now I've done enough of my own work. I'm like, oh yeah, there's that thing that wants to be loved. And okay. And because I've done this work, I've done the work of, okay, how do I love myself? And I can access that muscle. Like, it's
Hmm.
okay. You're okay. Like, you're okay, sweetheart. You're doing great. It's okay. I know I know you don't look awake yet. It's all right. Like, right. Or like, it's okay. You might say something stupid. It's all right. You'll learn next time how to say it better, whatever it is. Right. Now I'm doing a whole nother kind of healing. Right.
Hmm.
And life gets so much better. Like, when I can really know what I need. And so then when I come to you and I'm like, I can't, I'm peeing when I sneeze. Or I can't stop my flow of urine and it's uncomfortable, or it's affecting my capacity to have sex with my husband. When you tell me now, okay, so this is the muscle, because I've had the gift, I think, of being told by you, like, just pull this muscle up or in or back, and I can be present with that. Now I know what I need, so I can be present with you and
Hmm.
actually work on that thing, that specific muscle. Oh,
Right.
right. Okay. Oh, I got to take care of that part of me that's freaking out because it remembers when I was 3 and I was actually violated. I know
Hmm.
that might take a whole nother 100 hours over here of healing, but now I know it needs to be taken care of and I can show up for myself. Or I
Hmm.
also know, like, well, it also makes this part of my body uncomfortable. Like, I don't know, like, I don't know the musculature enough to know, like, what else might be triggered, right? Just as a biological matter, right?
Right.
But I'm going to heal I'm going to heal so much more powerfully and so much more effectively, right? Than probably showing up for you as I can imagine. And maybe just like doing the exercise, but kind of forgetting about it after I'm done with the course because I haven't resolved my discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
I'm just going
Mm-hmm.
to learn. Yeah, I'm going to learn it because I know I need to. But if I'm not taking care of all of me, I'm going to forget it, right? Because that's how I'm going to protect myself.
Yeah. Very good point. Very good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which is why a lot of times we do actually refer clients and if
Mm,
they're having issues, especially with pelvic pain, because
yeah.
pelvic pain sometimes has a whole nother emotional, mental aspect that's associated with it.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, there's a lot of blocks. We as women, and I don't want to leave the men out too, because men do have blocks, same, almost the
Mm,
same thing,
of
just
course. Of
different
course. Of
anatomy.
course.
But yeah, there's just certain blocks when it comes to intimacy and the associated things that go with that, simply because of
Totally.
past or teachings, or how you were brought up, etc. And
Mhm.
it's just
Totally.
so unfortunate. But I
Yeah.
did want to ask you this question, because you have done a lot of work for yourself to get to the point where now you can empower other women. But were you able to get to this point on your own, or did you need help?
Hmm. Oh, my dear, I always need help. I continue to need help. I mean,
Yeah.
please, Lord, let me never be alone. Um, yeah, of course. I mean, I grew up in New York City, the son of, or the son, that's interesting. The daughter, I'm thinking of my father and mother, of two very, well, whatever, modern people. So I've been in therapy since I was 10. And, it's certainly that experience. I mean, I think I spent, I don't know, 14 years with my actual therapist and mentor.
Oh,
But along the way, I was inspired by the ecstatic dance movement and soul motion, which is a Vin Marti experience. Gabrielle Roth, have done shamanic work and energy work. Went to get a second master's in body-centered psychotherapy. Had the good fortune there of actually having a professor say, "Stop spending your money, just go start doing it." And I'm also a yoga teacher, and there's a lot of tradition there. But because of that second master's experience, trying to gather all the information to both first just to be a better clinician, but then also to become more of a body-centered somatic therapist, and then really along the way, all my own experiences of dancing and yoga and spirituality. Um, it was when the professor said, "Just start doing it," that I really learned what it is that I do. And kind of I mean, and that might not be the snazziest answer, but it's true, that having the desire, as I did, to share what is for me the heart mission of your body is your access to the best of you. I mean, that's really what drives me.
mhm.
Like, I want you to know, like, I believe in the divine self. I believe that you access your divinity by being in touch with your body. Like, everything else is the gravy. Um, that when I have that passion in my heart, you just show up and you talk to people and you find out what's your story. What is keeping you from what I'm holding for you is your divinity. Your brilliance, your genius, and your superpower. Tell me what you're
Mhm.
struggling.
Right.
And that's been and continues to be my school. The people that I'm gifted to work with. Um,
Mhm. And I do love that you indicate, at least this is what I heard, that it's always a work in progress.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that it's not a quick
totally.
fix, or it's a work in
Totally. Yeah.
progress.
Well, do you know why I like that? Because I like it both because I know that you as an entrepreneur and as a businesswoman, there's a great liberation that comes realizing that, oh, we're never done. Working on your business, right? Like figuring it out, making it better. It's such a liberation to read. There's no finish line. It's like,
Right.
even I'm guessing even like Oprah probably has business meetings. She's like, how are we going to do this thing? So,
Mhm.
right. So it's like, although maybe I'll be like Oprah, but right. But it's a constant process. I also love that because for me, one of the things that I love about being present with the body is this profound understanding that the body is dynamic. The body is not fixed. Now, we know that literally because of the changes of aging, whatever. But in this actual moment, that dynamic process, it's not just that you're getting older, it's that you're also a part of a system that's constantly clearing the white blood cells. And I got to remember this number, but it's something fantastic, like the cell regeneration. It takes, like, in a matter of so many days, you've completely renewed your
Oh,
cellular system.
yes.
And
Mhm.
so, which is just a biological miracle. But then if
Mhm.
you look at the emotion and the energy of that when you're present with your experience of the body, when you're actually present with that dynamic, vital nature, you get to recognize that trauma that you've been holding, when you're present with it, you've got a system in place to transmute it, to transform it, right? Like,
Right.
you actually, your sheer biology. And I think that the experience of our body is more than just biological, right? You know that how you feel in your heart and in your emotions affects how your
Mhm.
body feels, right? Like, I'm nervous to go on stage, or, oh my gosh, I love him so much, my heart's all fluttered. Like, the body and the feeling of the heart go together, right? So, okay, so you got this brilliant biology. What about the brilliance of what your emotional body is? Okay, so let's hang out and, like, let us be dynamic. Let us tolerate what our bodies are and feel. And now there's this whole brilliance of how to heal. You don't have to, like, do it up here, right? Like, that's the, remember, now I'm a clinician, I'm a psychotherapist, right? I spent 30 years, like, talking. I still love to talk. Look at me, I'll talk forever. But, but, and healing is, like, right here. It's right here. That's why it's like, your body is brilliant. Your
It
body
is.
is brilliant
And adaptable.
and adaptable, and like, oh my goodness, I just, right? It's like, that to me is the, like, yes. So when you talk about it, we're dynamic, or that change can happen and we can keep improving. It's like, yes, oh my God,
Mhm.
yes. Like,
Mhm.
you have your head, you gotta, like, size 8. What about size 8? What is that style? Like, what? So what?
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's like, your body is so much more than the size. Oh my goodness. Or
Right.
how much collagen you have, right? And now there's a whole conversation, by the way, about beauty and being attractive and embracing that and how to feel sexy, and, like, yes. And actually, how to feel sexy, you still got to access how you feel,
Right.
right?
Well, that's actually one of the probably primary components in fit because it's mental. You know,
Yeah, right?
that's a mental component.
Right? It's like, I mean, I'm specializing in, love your body, love sex, which is the, right? And
Mhm.
because so many of us, I think, do pretend sex, or are afraid of it, or feel like
Mhm.
we have to look a certain way, or are posturing. I know I spent a lot of my years, not just in my marriage, but then as a single woman, if there was a partner in my life, oh, I was the queen of mood lighting and artfully draped sheets, and, like, the spandex, and and when we're making it look a certain way or sound a certain way, we're not actually feeling it.
Right.
And then, right, and so when we go back to, I don't really want to feel what my body is feeling. That was me for most of my life. Like, I'll moan on cue, you know?
Mhm.
I'll, like, I'll as the skinny white blonde woman, I'll look the part. I'll do that. I know that's supposed to
Mhm.
make me sexy. But
Right.
if I can't actually tolerate the experience of my body,
Right.
I can't access the brilliance of the body's, like, actual, like, sexuality system. I mean, it's a biology, it's an energy, it connects. Like, oh my goodness, I have actually something that lubricates me. I have something, and that connects to what's happening in my mind, and I have a hormonal system, and my hormonal system like is affected by how I'm breathing and what I'm doing.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it's like,
But
yeah, sorry, I got a little off track. I don't know what we're talking about right now. I'm just thinking about sex.
right. But I have to say, so realizing though that all of these things work in conjunction, everything that you were
Yes.
talking about previously,
Yeah.
um, if you don't have the mental component, or if you don't really focus on the feeling part, I think that's why a lot of times sex is put on the back burner, because
Yes.
after a while it's like, okay, you know, um,
Right? But
you know,
wouldn't it be fascinating to have your partner that you know familiar and you're tired and actually to explore intimacy like, yeah, I'm really kind of not interested. Or to like make space for that for yourself.
mm-hmm,
I mean, to really make space for that. I'm bored. Oh, okay. Well, like to care about being bored and then to tolerate what would remedy the boredom. I'm
right.
actually embarrassed. What I kind of want you to do is throw me on the bed. What,
Mm-hmm.
you know, or I'm really tired. I had to spend 5 hours, trying to put Junior to sleep. And so if we care about how we feel, then we're out of the head of, oh, so like maybe you need to sleep. You
Mm-hmm.
know, for years, I find that I was just talking about this yesterday in an interview. But my very lovely mother-in-law take the kids for a night. My husband and I would go away. The first thing we would do is sleep. Then we would
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
we're just like, we'd have a bath and we'd go to sleep.
Oh
And
yeah.
then we'd have sex.
Mhm, mhm.
Um, but so anyway, yeah. Yes. Taking
Oh,
care, like,
yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree
right?
wholeheartedly. Sleep. And I'll just say this and then we'll go on to the next question.
Mm.
Because you see, time flies when you're having
Yeah.
fun.
Wow, no,
Um,
especially talking about sex
yeah, yeah.
and
And
or the body. Yeah.
right.
Right?
So, but what I was going to say, the fact, if you can get to your partner and it being able to discuss those type of elements, that emotional connection
Yes.
too will, maybe eliminate some of that. I'm tired, I'm bored,
Yes.
because the
Yes.
desire will
I'm so excited. Yes. I'm sorry.
yeah. No, oh, no problem, no problem. But yeah, because the desire will be there, because there's, that emotional, mental, because we're just talking
Yes.
about how mental. So it's that
Right.
emotional, mental component that is increased,
Right.
and
Right.
improves the value of
Yes.
whatever you're going to do, or whatever the
Yes.
relationship, because it
Well,
doesn't have to be sex, it could be anything.
yes.
Um,
Yes. Well, you know what? I would say one reason I'm waving my hands and I'm so excited is because I feel like what you're describing is it's like what intimacy is, right? Like intimacy is a turn on. When it's true, like right, like it's when even with the best friend, there's times when you're really saying to her what you really feel, or you have the struggle. Like have you ever had like a hard time with a friend and then you get past it, you feel closer, right?
right.
Or to be able to be with your partner and really be like what I'm really feeling. It's like, oh, that's a turn on. It's
Mhm.
a it's like now I feel more dynamic. I feel more engaged. And you see, part of why I think that's so exquisite is it's a mirror of what we can do with our own selves.
Mm,
When I can actually show up for me and be like, hey, how do you really feel? And I can communicate that with myself. I am turned on by me. When I first started to do this practice, really tolerate the self, really tolerate the experience of myself, and I would make space in the day, I felt like I was in love. I was like, ooh, I can't wait to go do that. It's like, this is so cool. This is fascinating. Like,
mhm.
wow, whoa, there's so much information here. Like, wow, it's so
Mhm.
exciting. It's
It is,
exciting, you know?
yes, very much
Um,
so.
so yes, yeah. So yes. By the way, so, all right, there's another question there.
Yeah. So I know, because we can. Yeah, we're gonna get
Okay.
to some of these other questions. So, but what do you find is the most common experience that a woman has in relationship to their bodies and how they feel about their bodies?
What is the most common experience? Um, I think we were talking about questions. Did I want to be asked this question? Because now I got to figure out, like, what is
You
it that
did want to be asked this question. Yes, you did. The questions that I asked you off the cuff, you were just like,
Oh,
ah.
okay. Okay, no,
So,
thank you.
I mean, so, so for example, is it
Yes,
weight? Is it,
yes, okay.
their experience with how
Yes, yes,
they
yes.
look compared to
Thank
other
you.
people?
Right, right. Okay. Okay, yes. So the most common experience that a woman has in relationship with her body is that her body is an appearance. That her body is is a measurement of how she looks. And that is a false illusion. It's a
Mhm.
falsity. Now, I can tell you that one of the things that the women focus on most is the stomach and weight. That I mean, there is in fact uh, research over so many different modalities that show 97% of women would change something about their bodies if they could. 70% actively hate something about their bodies, and so they're
Oh.
actually they it's not just like, oh, I'd be taller so I could, play basketball better. It's like I would be taller because I hate that fact that I'm short.
Mm.
So there is in almost every single one of us in the experience of, I would change something about my body if I could. Now, I haven't seen specific research to this next point, but I've seen enough cross research that supports it, which is something about my body that I would change is related to my appearance.
Mm.
It's not by experience. I would change. It's changing in younger generations, but I would change. I could change my capacity to breathe deeper. I would feel better in my breath, or I would change my orgasmic potential, or that I would have more intense orgasms. We don't change how we feel, what our bodies feel like. We change how they look. I would lose weight. I
Mm.
would, I
Mm.
mean, I would may have a smaller nose, which was my
Mm.
obsession for a lot of the time. Since babies, I would have a smoother stomach. I would. Here's the magic wand, my darling, Dr. Sheila. What would you change? Probably you would change something about how your appearance.
Mm.
Especially in that. And by the way, one of the empowering things of women who experience disability prejudice is, for many, the experience of realizing, oh, I wouldn't actually change my body. I wouldn't change this thing that other people say is a disability. That it actually has made me who I am, by the way.
Wow.
Yeah,
Strong.
yeah.
Very strong.
It's exquisite,
Mm-hmm. Very
But but that thing, because I mean, this is something that I teach actively, that this is reasonable because our perception of ourselves, or how we form identities, is in relationship to other people.
Mm-hmm. That's
Right? So I don't think I'm funny. I'm not born thinking I'm funny. I think I'm funny because I make you laugh.
that's
I think
right.
I'm smart because I score well on a test in relationship to other people.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm attractive because what I'm told attractive is. I
Yep.
think that I'm beautiful or sexy because what I'm seeing comparing to other people. And
Mm-hmm.
this also is supported by 90% of what the brain processes is visual. As a biological creature, to survive in the jungle, we lived longer when we reacted to the tiger we saw than to the tiger that we smelled, right? So 90%, the brain is hardwired to be seeing and orienting to visual experiences. So combining that with, I know how I what my body looks like, or my body is, by what it looks like, is kind of what we're hardwired to do, right? And
Right.
so we get caught as women and men. I mean, my son is very clear with me, like, Ma, the body dysmorphia, body confidence is not the sole purview of women. Men have it in spades now,
Oh
especially
gosh,
now that we've got
yes.
Captain America, and we have these these unrealistic, more than
Right.
ever, male bodies. But
Mm-hmm.
we all have this experience of our bodies somehow is an appearance. It's what it looks like. And it just starts us on this path that leads to eating disorders, addiction,
Mm-hmm.
self-loathing, not being able to have sex, because
Mm-hmm.
we're thinking that we don't look the way we're supposed to.
Right.
right? And so it's that misperception that I'm personally on a mission to change.
Yeah, and I'm so glad that you are on that mission. I really am.
So,
And before we run out of time, so what would be the first step for a woman to move to freedom and empowerment?
unhooking from the concept that your body is what it looks like, starting to actually engage with your body as an experience. That's a process. That is not something that just is going to happen like that. You either hire a coach, or you go to a therapist, or you find a support group, or you do this hard work of just being able to sit in presence with yourself. But that actually starting to engage with your body as an experience, not an appearance. That's how you start to completely, radically shift. And you may find, by the way, in that experience, oh, I want to stop peeing when I sneeze. Now you're off, oh, go love that experience. Go find the steps of how to take care of it. You may find when you're in the experience of your body, I don't like my body. Find the help to figure out how to like it. Oh my gosh, in my body, I don't feel my body. Oh, that's, be interested in what your experience of your body is. And you find your portal to heaven, because now you know what wants love. That's it, right? You just want to be an experience of love, right? We all do.
Right.
Right?
That's true. That's
Right?
true.
Your body is actively telling you right now, in this exact second, the places in you that love isn't going. That's it.
Yeah.
That is it.
And what that does, I mean, if you can get to that point, that will enhance your life and your happiness quotient tremendously.
Yes. Yes. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. I feel like the angels singing. I'm like, yes, thank you for letting me say that out loud. Thank you for giving me a platform and an opportunity to say that out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true.
And thank
So,
you for doing the work you do, by the way.
yeah, that is certainly my mission, because we don't have to have bladder leaks. We don't have to have pelvic pain. We don't have to have, there's a lot of things that women experience that does not have to be, and that we accept for no reason. And I just really am happy that I'm able to help women to be able to live their life just a little freer, because we got so much going on. So just to live it a little bit freer. But before we close now, so I did put your website up here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So just and just tell us if you can, in 30 seconds, tell us a little bit. Yep, you can do it, Janet. Tell us about. Yep. You can tell us a little bit about your program.
Oh, my program is a process and the system of going from my body as an appearance, and I don't like what it looks like, and I don't like being in it, and I can't be in it, to actually loving your body. That's what I do. Oh. I know. And I didn't realize that, there's so much magic in there, and being able to tolerate it, then being the way to actually access what is bliss. So.
And how long is the program? How long, or does it vary?
Yeah, it's 12 weeks. So we get to be together over what I think is the minimum amount of time to maximize the result. And we do it as a group, that there is a whole nother magic that happens when we get to be in our own experience with other women.
That's true.
To know that I'm not alone in this, to hear a sister or woman say something like that resonates, it's powerful medicine. Like just here talking with us here and having people listen, it's different than being up in here in our own experience, so so it's 12 weeks in a group that we're all on that same ride together, going from creating safety, which is how we begin, and being able to just be okay alone, into being able to have conversations. And by the way, this is not a program where we take off our clothes. I'm not a sexuality coach. I'm not someone who's going to teach you how to have orgasms standing on your head. I mean, God bless you. If that's where you want to go at it.
There
I
are coaches for that.
There are, and they're brilliant coaches,
Yeah,
right?
there are coaches for
I,
that. Yeah.
and I know many of them. I'd love to tell you about them. Um,
Mhm.
like I am a specialist. This program specializes in. I just realized that I can't have sex with my husband. I just realized I can't. I can't look in the mirror and be comfortable, let alone go on a date and have someone see
Mhm.
me. I specialize in. Let's just start with your body. Let's just start by revolutionizing your experience of actually what it is to be with your body. I have an eating disorder. I don't have the eating disorder anymore, but I still don't really, I don't like this. That like we get you from, I'm not comfortable with this to let me be comfortable with it so then I can figure out where I'm going. Maybe whether or not it's I'm gonna heal my, my bladder leaks, or I'm gonna go find the multi-orgasmic coach.
Right, right, right.
Let's just get you comfortable with the body that you
Wonderful. So I also have Janet's email.
have. Yes, my good old fashioned. I guess no one has Yahoo anymore, but I just got Yahoo right now because I'm redoing some web things. So yeah.
Yeah, so you'll be able to contact her with the Yahoo email, but the website is probably the so you can go to her website, find a little bit more about her, and hopefully something that she says has resonated with you, so that you will look a little bit more inward. And if you feel that what she said and the questions I asked, just the conversation, um, lit something in you, that you will take a step further and investigate it and do the work that you need to live your best life. Whole purpose in the show: live your best
Yay!
life. Yes,
Yay! Yes, life could be so good. It
it
could
could
be
be
so
so good. Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for being a guest, Janet. Thank you. Thank you. It was a pleasure. We had a wonderful, well, I had a good time.
I
Hopefully
did
you
too.
did.
This was fun.
Yeah, hopefully you did, but I had a great time.
This
Got a
time.
lot of information. And we are going to go ahead and close out the show. I am Dr. Sheila Craig Whiteman, your pelvic coach, and we had the pleasure of having Janet Farnsworth on here with us today. And I will see you again next week. Remember, the show is live on Thursdays, every Thursday, noon Eastern time. So calculate that to whatever time that is in your world, but on Thursdays at noon Eastern. And also you can look at it video on demand on KP Media TV. So thank you all so much, audience. Thank you, Janet. And
Thank you. Thank you
yes,
so much.
and I will see all of you again in another week. All right, take care.